Hey GenderqueerChat, it's Matt. I'm not really sure what day it is, but I know that I'm very late for my spot this week, so sorry to Zane, Laura, Gabriel, or Joe, or whoever's toes I am treading on, but this topic this week is one that I'm really interested in. I really wanted to answer, and it's been quite good actually, not getting around to posting on my appropriate day and having had the chance to watch some of the other videos prior to making this one, because it's interesting to hear other people's perspectives, and also I think I'll probably end up maybe referring to the other videos from Christina and Quincy and Ricky this week, because I liked what they had to say, and it gave me some food for thought. So the topic this week is, if you haven't guessed it already, is do genderqueers have more problems in romantic relationships, and would you date someone who doesn't understand you? I think relationships are tricky anyway. Like romantic, intimate relationships are kind of difficult. You have two individual people with different ways of thinking and feeling and approaching things, who expect certain things and have different experiences and baggage, and you expect them to come together into a harmonious whole and have this relationship. So I think relationships are tricky, and a lot of relationships don't work, a lot of relationships are hard, and then some relationships work and are awesome. But it's almost kind of a random, put two people in this space and see if they work. So I think relationships are difficult anyway. Relationships have problems. At the same time, relationships are great and fun and all that. I guess for a genderqueer person, yes, you have that added issue of gender being in the mix. Or an uncertain gender, or a gender that is different to sort of the norm and what people expect, and that can pose a few additional problems and make some more interesting scenarios to navigate. So I really like what Ricky said in regards to making that distinction between relationships prior to sort of understanding your own gender identity, because we're going to inevitably talk about people understanding us and understanding our gender identity, but for most of us, or at least some of us, there may have been a time when we didn't understand our own gender identity. We didn't have the words for it, didn't have the language, the labels, know how we fit in. So I think it's good to make that distinction of, who was I in that sort of dating world, if I was dating, sort of prior to coming out or understanding myself as genderqueer. And then, are there different challenges or problems in a post-genderqueer identifying world? So I really liked Ricky bringing up that sort of that part of the topic. And for me, definitely, I think, and I've mentioned this before in a few videos, for me, part of the reason I came to think of myself as genderqueer and took the time out to deconstruct my gender and what the hell was going on was because I felt uncomfortable in the way that I was placed or positioned in sort of all kinds of relationships, but particularly more one-on-one kind of romantic relationships. So that kind of informed my gender identity, made me, I guess, question myself and think that something was up, because I didn't quite feel like I fit in the roles that people were placing me in, the roles that I was expected to be in, and sort of the conventional relationshipy thing. So that's where I come from. So prior to understanding myself as genderqueer, it was a little bit difficult. I'd struggled with gender roles and being placed in boxes, but without having that language for myself. I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't know how I wanted people to treat me, and I guess I forced myself into living up to expectations of what society would deem appropriate for the male. I think Christina mentioned sort of dominant, submissive and stuff, that sort of person in their relationship, and for all intents and purposes, I knew how to be a good boyfriend or partner or whatever, and but yeah, it was uncomfortable. There was something wrong with it. Not all the time, just some of the time. It was enough for me to really start to question it. So without actually understanding my own gender identity, dating was kind of problematic. It didn't, And of course, when I did come out as genderqueer and start to really work that out for myself and label myself that way, think of myself as genderqueer, then it opened up a whole new realm of problems. So something Quincy said in regards to dating and not feeling, what was the word Quincy used? Not feeling worthwhile or not feeling deserving of like a relationship. I felt that as well. Like for the longest time, I felt that. I was like, who's going to love me? No one's ever going to love me. I'm never going to find anyone. No one's going to understand me. No one's going to see me as me, all that crap. And, you know, it didn't really have much of a basis in reality because I had been in previous relationships. In terms of time of being single, it was, you know, a relatively small amount of time. I was really, you know, it was me projecting my own uncertainty about my identity, or like, well, not my uncertainty about my identity, but I've got this new identity. I'm uncertain how that fits into the world. What the fuck's going on, sort of thing. So it was difficult and it was challenging, and I honestly thought, as Quincy kind of said, not to devalue what Quincy said, but I felt that I was probably going to be single for a long time, and that I was going to really struggle to find where I fit in with another person, find someone who would see me as I wanted to be seen and appreciate me as I wanted to be appreciated, and all of that, and sort of come to the party in regards to my identity and my labels and whatever. Yeah. So that was a whole another set of challenges. Then, going back to what Ricky said about, you know, pre and post your genderqueer identity, when you do identify as genderqueer, chances are you're going to want the person that you're with to understand you that way and respect you that way and see you that way and treat you that way. So, you know, you then start looking at potential partners and relationships with that added filter of, I need someone who understands me, I need someone who's going to respect me, I need someone who's going to see me as genderqueer and treat me as such, and not put me in that male role or that female role or that role that I don't feel comfortable with, or just assume that I'm going to be the perfect stereotypical boyfriend or perfect stereotypical girlfriend or whatever the case may be. As Christina was saying, like, you got those distinct gender roles and they exist in relationships and they're really hard to navigate. So once you sort of come out as genderqueer and, you know, want to have that identity and that part of yourself viewed and respected in a relationship, and, you know, you want to be visible and you want that to be validated, then you're going to be looking for somebody who is going to help you make that happen. So you have those added difficulties, and, you know, then you have those two people coming together in a relationship, and suddenly you're navigating gender as well. So you know, what do you call a person? What do you call your partner when they're a genderqueer person or a gender non-conforming person, or they, you know, don't view themselves as either gender? The language doesn't really exist for that. Within the relationship, it doesn't exist with that for people viewing outside of the relationship. So, you know, how does the outside world see me? How does the outside world see us, as well as how am I viewed within this relationship? So I found that kind of, yeah, tricky. And Christina kind of, you know, mentioned as well the certain issues to do with bodies and intimacy and stuff as well. And I think that's a very personal thing, and that's going to be different for everybody. And but, you know, that's the reality of it, and it comes down to you wanting the total you, your insides, your outsides, everything else, to be understood and respected and treated in a certain way, the way that's in line with your gender identity and how you feel about yourself. And that takes some navigation, and I'm certainly no expert at it, but yeah, I'm in a relationship, and I'm lucky enough to be dating another genderqueer person, and that is a huge change. Like, not a huge change, it makes a huge difference, because I know this person understands me and respects me because they view themselves in a very similar way. It's almost like gender, in previous encounters or thinking hypothetically about relationships, gender was this big elephant in the corner. It was something that had to be discussed at some point. It would have to come up, something that would need to be worked through. But dating another genderqueer person is almost like that's, you know, we still talk about it because we find it interesting, and, you know, we talk about gender, but or non-gender, but it's almost like it's not really an issue in the relationship. It's much more fluid, and we just kind of get each other, and we kind of have that flexibility to be who we need to be without feeling like the other person is, you know, needing you in a certain role or to be a certain thing or sees you in a certain way. And that's really liberating and great, and I feel really lucky, and yeah, really lucky that I found that. It wasn't something that I was expecting to find, and it's been a very, very pleasant surprise. So I hope, you know, relationships are important, and having intimate romantic relationships are an important part of life, and not for everyone. You know, some people don't require that or need that or desire it, but it's important to me, and I hope that everyone can, you know, find somebody who will appreciate them, because, you know, the other part of the question is, would you date someone who doesn't understand you? And I don't think you should. Like, I think the reality is, for a genderqueer person, your options are not limited, but, you know, someone said potential dating pool, and, you know, it is kind of a little bit restrictive to find someone who understands you and can get it. That, you know, and you don't have to find another genderqueer person. You don't have to find someone who even has any knowledge or understanding of queerness or gender or anything like that. But you have to be prepared to navigate this together and discuss these things. You need someone who's at least open enough, open-minded enough to be able to sort of take that stuff in and be receptive to it, and respectful enough of you to want to treat you in the way that you want to be treated, and to, I guess, be open to constructive criticism in a relationship. I mean, as the genderqueer person in a relationship, you know, or as any person in a relationship, you have the right to say what you want and what you need, and if you're not being treated a certain way. But yeah, but relationships are difficult, and sometimes you don't realise that a relationship's not healthy or not very constructive or anything until you're out of it, and then you see it more clearly. So it's difficult, but no, I wouldn't. Hypothetically, if I had to date someone else again, which I hope will not be the case, I don't think I'd waste my time on someone who didn't understand me or didn't have the potential to understand me. So, yeah, that's all I got to say. So, yeah, great videos by everyone this week, and a cool topic, and yeah, I'll see you next week. And yes, I'm scared of heights.